Hey, and welcome back to the page. This is Dave, also known as Loving Them Trains, and I just wanted to bring you a brief update. So, those of you probably wondering what's going on, what is he looking at? Well, if you look, there's what seems to be some bench work that was added, and it's actually not bench work, it's actually my workbench. And those of you that are fortunate enough to have basements or work areas that are separate from your layout, you don't know how well you have it made, or maybe you do. But this was an extension put on the outside of the layout just to be able to fold under when not in use. So the way we constructed it, it has the ability to fold under the layout, and there's actually a latch. Maybe I'll crawl up under the layout and show you how we have put that together. But so the table is about 21 inches wide. It's about 5 feet long, and if I come on over here, you can see that it's not connected over on the end. There's a little gap right here on the other side of it. But also, if you look here, it's a nice view of the train. So while I'm actually working right here, I can turn the trains on and have them going while I'm actually working at the workbench. So that's a nice little addition. Maybe also have that going when I'm doing projects at the workbench for these videos, to have the train going as well. So the legs also fold under, obviously, so that the bench can fold under the actual table. So I'm very happy because there are a lot of projects that I would like to get going, and I just needed an area to do it. And I was so tempted to buy this out while I was at one of the hardware stores, but I decided against it because of the idea of being able to put it up under the bench work. And then I thought, why spend the money when I can do something like this? So I need to, before I go further, I need to thank Dave Bennett from Train Installations, who is the carpenter behind all of this work. And he did pretty much do the entire thing. He is definitely a blessing to me in this layout. And we knocked this thing out probably within an hour and a half, something like that. It was very quick, but it's going to allow me to do a lot of work. So I'm going to get under the other side and show you what's going on with this. I wanted to come down and show you the legs here. If you notice, they're kind of tapered. Not kind of, they are tapered. And the reason that we had to do that is because of the bracing up under there. You can see it right there. In the center, our legs were too long, and they bumped into that, so there wasn't enough clearance to actually tuck this under the layout and the bench work. So once again, we came up with this. Dave came up with this actually, to taper these legs, and now they fold under and make it. And then we did have to trim just a little off of them to get that to work. Also wanted to mention that we're pretty level up here. Definitely enough to do the work. Smooth surface. So yeah, let me show you the other side and show you how this thing tucks under the layout. So rather than tuck the other side in, I wanted to show you the area that is actually going to be used as my harbor scene. But this is pretty much how the bench tucks under the layout. Just like that, it disappears. And as I said before, there's a latch, which I will show you how this is fastened up under the layout. But it's the same concept as the workbench. Clearly, I'm going to have to paint the workbench, this part that's exposed, because you know, when visitors come, I want a nice polished look. But this section that I'm actually looking at right now, which I said earlier was the harbor, going to be the harbor, this will not be folded under the layout, because obviously it'll be part of the scene and part of the scenery. But this concept will be the same for the bench, workbench. So at this point in time, I'll go ahead and get under the layout and show you how this is latched. Okay, here I am under the bench work. I just wanted to give you a look at the latch that is holding the workbench up under the bench work. And we only have one of these on one side. It seems to do the job. What we did was just pretty much drill a hole into the workbench itself, a hole that was wide enough for the latch to go into. And it's doing the job. I mean, it's solid. No one's under here pulling on the workbench, so it's pretty good. What we did have to do to have the latch actually meet the bench workbench, we had to add this 2x4 here to the joist, one of the joists up under here, and it lowered it right to the center pretty much of the workbench. So that's pretty solid, and this is for both the workbench as well as the table that the harbor is going to go on. Okay, so I thought while I was under here I would show you all how the legs are actually attached to the underside of the workbench. So all we did is used a washer and wing nut, as these legs, especially under the workbench, are being moved up and down. You know, it becomes loose sometimes. So all I have to do is tighten them up, especially if they're starting to fall down as I'm lifting them up to tuck the table up under the bench work. And this is actually done on both legs under the workbench, as well as both legs under the table where the harbor scene is going to be. The same concept is true for both of them. So yes, it's a shoddy paint job. I know you are thinking, what did he do? But this is not visible unless you're in the same place I am under the table, and most visitors are not going to be under my layout unless they're doing some kind of work. So yeah, but I just wanted you to see that, just in case you were wondering how the legs were actually attached to the underside of the workbench. All right, so here we are looking at the tabletop that the harbor scene will be on. This is the finished product. So as you can see, I've stained the edges and also the legs, both legs, and I've painted the tabletop itself with a gray paint, which is the paint I use on all bare bench work for the same reason, to act as a sealant, because this is going to get pretty messy. So I think it's looking pretty good. So now it's ready to start setting some harbor top type buildings around and getting that going. So woohoo, that's a big project that's coming up. But I'm happy with what I call the stage for the scene. Looking pretty good. And if you would have seen the top of this, because remember this was acting as my workbench before the other one was constructed. If you would have seen this prior to the painting, it was a disaster. All the glue and paste and all of that stuff, Sculptamold, you name it, as far as what we use, was all over that, and I forgot and didn't think to seal it prior to starting to use it as a workbench. But that's fine. We rectified that situation. All right, everyone, we are back with the final product. Here's the workbench completed, completely stained. Both legs have been stained, and of course the tabletop. Also, where the workbench is against the fascia, that area is stained too. So when the table's actually tucked up under the up under the bench work, you'll be able to see a nice finish on the edge. But for the most part, unless I'm having any visitors or showing the layout or any kind of pictures or video that I want to take, this table will be out probably at least 80% of the time, because I have so many projects that I want to complete and start to work on, and I'm excited to do that now. I'll still have to go out to the garage to spray paint or anything that uses fumes, that type of stuff. But for the most part, everything can be done right here at the layout, which, we know a lot of times when you're doing projects, especially things that have to do with scenery, you want to see what it looks like in the train room anyway. So I'm already going to be in here, which helps out in that aspect. You have to look at the bright side of your situation. No, I do not have drawers. No, I do not have racks to hang all of my modeling supplies on, to have them be readily available. So I still have to go through, looking for those things before I do a project. But that's okay. I'm making the best use of my space that I can, and those little things will just have to take the back burner, and I'll have to do them. But this was a project that took just a couple of hours, if that, to complete, and great results, and it's just going to serve the purpose for what I have. But I want to thank you for taking the time again to watch. I hope that you all will come back on my next video. I have several down the line, and some ideas of some things I'd like to put out as well. So please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and please come back and see me again. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.